I would recommend watching the whole video first before you go out and buy anything. It's going to be a long video. Uh, I don't know how mechanically inclined people are, so I try to make things as idiot proof as possible. I would just recommend watching it with a pad and paper, and then that way you can write down all the cut dimensions that you need, so you don't necessarily have to go back and watch the whole video as you're building it. You can just know how many pieces and lengths of PVC you need. But there's a couple things you might want to change for my parts list after watching the video, like the material of the backboard and stuff like that. Um, if you have any questions while you're doing it, just hit me up and I'll do my best to help you. Let's get to it.
I've had a couple people ask me on the prints for my collapsible backboard that I made, that you can kind of just collapse out PVC and bring it with you wherever you want, kind of, for the most part, as long as you have access to water or something heavy to put in the center. So I'm making a goal for Brett for a housewarming gift, so I thought I'll go over the process of doing it. I mean, really don't need too much. I'll cut in a full parts list instead of me explaining everything. That way you have SKUs you can look up from the Home Depot. Everything I bought is from the Home Depot.
I'm going to add in the description of this video a link to the actual Home Depot's parts list. And if you look under some of the parts, it has a little description of what they're for, mainly for the different styles of bolts.
Should run you about $150, depending on what the price of wood is and stuff. Yeah. Piece of 3/4 2x2 here. And first thing you want to do is you want to find the center, which I've already done. So you just, measure a foot, kind of, put a hash mark here, hash mark there, connect the lines, get your center. Then once you get your center, you want to measure down from the center 8 5/8. And you want to draw a line at 8 5/8. And then you're going to do the same thing back this way. And you're just going to put a little... Ah, no. I marked the board. And you're just going to put a little hash mark here at 8 5/8. I'll see when I edit it. Maybe I'll put the measurements on the screen too. So you want 8 5/8 that way, and you want 8 5/8 this way. And then once you get, want to make a line down here. Once you get your 8 5/8 all the way across, you don't need to do that over there, because the way the backboard works is it's like a triangle. So it'll be a mount here and 2 mounts here. So then you want to find 9 1/4 this way from this center line that we made earlier. And same thing, once you get 9 1/4, just put a little mark there. The good thing about PVC is very forgiving. So even if you're a little off, you'll be fine. Next, we're going to take our 3/4 4 flanges. These are going right where we made those little hash marks. So I like to use, it says 3/4 and it's got a diamond on this side to line it up. And then you don't have to worry really about centering it one way. Like I said, PVC is pretty forgiving, so if it's not exact, it shouldn't be the end of the world. Or just take a marker, kind of hold it, and mark your holes. Yeah, it moved. Try not to move it. All right. Might want to put down a ground cloth. I don't know where you're working. I live in a condo, so I don't have a garage, which sucks. Wish I had a garage. All right, I'm gonna grab my original one, which my original one I made out of 1-inch PVC, but 3/4 should be plenty. 3/4 is significantly cheaper. I'm just using this so when I drill, I don't drill into the carpet and Sarah yell at me. Alright, you're going to drill 1/4-inch holes for the 1/4-inch carriage bolts we got. And then you're just going to drill 1/4-inch holes where we marked it. Do your best to line up the holes. No big deal if you don't. Well, shouldn't say no big deal, but you might run into trouble if you don't line them up very well. Worst case scenario, you have to widen it. And the other thing I'm gonna do is because like when Sarah and I set it up, we're setting it up on grass, so it doesn't really matter. But if you're gonna set it up on like a flat surface, I'm gonna put carriage bolts in the corners to level it out. So that doesn't need to be super precise. Actually, I'm gonna put it over here. Right here. Like I said, those holes are just to put carriage bolts in, so if you set it on a flat surface, so it stays somewhat level. Gonna grab our 1/4-inch carriage bolts that are 2.5 inches long. Oh man, looks like one of the ones I grabbed or bought was in the wrong bin. Thought I checked it all. We'll be able to make it work though. Just want to pop carriage bolts in the bottom. Flange might, if you buy the galvanized ones, which is what I bought because It'll help prevent rust if it's outside. You might have to open those holes up a little bit, like that. And then we're gonna put our nuts on them. I buy the nylon locking nuts, just that way. I intend to put washers on these. I think I intended to put washers on these. You probably don't really need the washers, but I'm putting them on. I mean, if you're handy enough to, you can just fast forward. I'm just gonna probably fast forward this, so you don't have to sit here and watch me do all this. That would be annoying. And then we're going to take our 4 1-inch carriage bolts. There's the 4th one. And put them on the back corner. And the side, just so if we're on flat ground, it'll kind of should hold. I'm not going to put washers on these ones. Alright, my nuts need an 11mm socket. I got an adapter for my impact. With the carriage bolts, they got that little square thing near the base of them, so that they should get sucked up into the wood and held in place. But you might need a wrench to kind of hold it so it gets sucked up first. So I'm using my channel locks, pipe fitter's #1 tool. You just gotta hold it for like a second, and then the square will get sucked up into the wood. Yeah. I'm not even needing to to get a hold back on it. It's just getting sucked up. Okay. Of course, as soon as I say that, that one needs a hold back. Like I said, it doesn't require much. Just hold it a little bit and then. You could also whack them with like give them a little tap with a hammer, and you wouldn't need the hold back. It's just way easier for me to get to the channel locks than, I guess I could have used my channel locks like a hammer. That's the go-to pipe fitter move. I'm probably gonna get 2 more carriage bolts, put one in the center and one at the end here. But, I mean, this should be plenty fine just like that. And I need another carriage bolt for there because there was the wrong size mixed in with whatever bin I was going through. Alright, now we got the base done. Let's move on to the PVC. Alright. So, this right here is obviously going to be the size of triangle we need, which, if I put them in the right spot, should be 18.5 center to center this way. Close enough. And then 17.25 center this way. Looks good. Alright, now that we got the 4 flanges in there, we want to put in our 2-inch nipples. That's what they call pieces of pre-cut pipe. It's called a nipple. So, like up to 6 or 9 inch. You could technically do 3/4 male PVC adapters, but the reason I didn't do that is because the threads on the PVC male adapters, especially the smaller sizes you go, are really tend to like splitting and cracking. So the female adapters are a little bit more sturdy. So that's why it's about a $7 difference. But I'd rather spend the $7 because that it's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be much harder to crack this than it would be to snap those threads on the male adapter. So that's the reason I did that. Where's my channies? Channies, pipe wrench. Don't need to be super tight. Hope we go the right way. Yeah. All right. Now that we got the nipples tightened into the flange, we can put on our female adapters. And like I said, you could use the male adapters if you want. It's like a $7 difference. You wouldn't need the malleable nipples, steel nipples, whatever you want to call them. But the thread parts on those male PVC adapters can snap pretty easy sometimes. Same thing here, we're just gonna tighten these down. Don't have to be over tight. You don't need any Teflon tape or anything, you're not making a seal. Don't need any pipe dope. I think my shoulder strength's coming back and my everything. And closer to being back to normal. Don't tear your rotator cuff. Don't recommend it. All right. Now our base is essentially done. When it's all done, everything will just, plop into there. So we can set this to the side, although let's double check our measurements here. We should be 18.5 center to center here. That's good. And then 17.25 center to center here. It's also good. Perfect. Base is done. Now that we're done with the base, we're gonna need to start making the T's here that connect to the base. All the measurements I'm gonna give you are the cut pieces. I've already figured out the takeoffs for the fittings and stuff. So we're gonna need we'll need 10 of these at 8 inches. Yeah. Measure twice, cut once. Like I said, PVC is forgiving. If you're not exact, it shouldn't be the end of the world. No. Square pieces. Alright. Now before you start cutting more, don't need to glue anything yet. Just gonna grab some pieces. I want to make sure everything's lining up with that measurement. These are just little pieces to make it sure it's lined up right. And it is. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. All right, got all 10 of those cut. Next, we need to cut 16 1/8. And we'll need 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. Perfect. This piece will work. I try to use the factory on as much as I can. And by that I mean the end I haven't cut. Ow, that's my shin. What did I say? 16 1/8. Alright, and just like we did before, let's make sure before we start cutting more that I did my measurements right. I've been off work since my shoulder's been hurt. And make sure I didn't forget how to pipe fit. There. Those will go there. Yeah, I can see everything's seated properly. Looks like the measurements are good. Oh shit, I cut 6 of those. Oh well, I got them cut. Now I'm gonna get ready to build the top part. All right, we're gonna need 2 pieces at 17 7/8. Those will be the pieces for the goal. Way crooked. You can mark the pieces if you go, if that helps. That way you don't lose track of what's what. I cut 2 pieces, 2 1/2, and see if that's enough for the top of the goal. Top of the goal, we want T's. We're going to mount the wood, or the board, whatever you want to call it, to that. So I get this all figured out before we start gluing. Alright, we need one piece, 22 3/16. Alright. I'm gonna start gluing the pieces. I'm just using Blue Monster PVC glue, or cement, whatever you want to call it. That's no primer needed. You can do the primer if you want, but for this application, the basic PVC cement with that one step is fine. These are just some random like scrap pieces I had that I cut to the same length to make it easier for lining everything up. Little glue outside, little glue on the inside. Turn and hold. Like I said, you can use the two-step process if you like, but that's no big deal for this. That's what I do. This wash, this is gonna make a mess. It always does. This. Like I said, I recommend doing this outside. These fumes are nasty. Remember, we're not gluing these, we're just making these pieces. Oh God, that's no bueno. That goes there. That goes there. careful where you're getting the fucking glue so you don't accidentally glue the legs together. Just give it a little turn when you get in there, it helps get the air out. Like I said, we don't need the glue and primer combo. We're not holding any PSIs or anything like that. It's going to set fast. I also recommend holding the tee up this way so the glue doesn't get in there. good way to do that. Thankfully it's a little cold out, so the glue takes a little bit longer to set for me. Sorry, Brett, I'm getting blue paint all over your board. And that's character, alright? It's chilly out. Let's park down so I'm back inside. Just do what we've been doing. Now on the board part here, you could kind of just, that's how I have mine in pieces, but mine's the 1 inch, so it's a little bit more durable. But I think with the 3/4, I'm gonna glue the whole top gold piece together. Makes it a little less easy to to move, but I think it'll make it a lot more better. Yeah, you're probably gonna want a wrench to spin it so that it doesn't stay seized up on you. one tall piece that was its own dimension. I forgot what it was now. I guess I'll probably throw them up in editing or something. Hey puppy. She's watching me from the couch. I'm gonna glue these pieces with our 2.5 inch little piece, and then the way I'm gonna line this up is the natural seam of the PVC. I'm gonna line up with this, and this is what's gonna hold our swinging gate for the goal. I'm gonna drill a hole here eventually, so you just wanna line this up with that seam in the fitting. It's not super crucial, so eyeballing it is fine. Doing the same thing. Dyed blue. See, just like that seam, but like that. don't know. I don't know how that looks on camera. Do this just like how we did everything else. Makes a little sense to me. That's what we'll do. Oh, I fucked that up. Well, don't matter that there's glue in there. That's just getting a hole drilled in it. Now, all that's left to do. Grab these three. Like I said, we put T's here so that we can screw into the ends there, and if we want, we could put like a 90 going down to help support the backboard piece. The thing I got for the backboard from Brent, I don't know that I'm a fan of. It's like chalkboard and whiteboard material, and essentially this really thin particle board. Like I said, these scrap pieces Gonna let that stuff dry. Alright, we only got one thing left to glue together with the PVC glue, and that's going to be the net for the goal, which we're going to use 1/2 inch PVC with 4 1/2 inch 90s. So you want that to fit in the middle of here. Doesn't have to necessarily go to the top of here. You want it to go to you want the top to go just a little bit higher than the center of the bowl of these teas here. So 16, obviously you're gonna want it bigger than 15 inches wide or high, because the diameter of the goal is 15 inches. So we'll go 16 there. And we'll go 19 there. So you want it 16 wide, 19 high, rectangle. So each one of these takes off 5/8, so you're gonna need to take off 1.25 inches on your piece. Just because these are my measurements doesn't necessarily mean they're, you know, theoretically they should work for you. So you're gonna need to cut 2 pieces at 14 3/4. This one's already cut to 14 3/4. Once again, PVC is not, it's very forgiving, so don't have to be super exact with your cuts. Plus, if you got one of these cutters, these things do not cut PVC the squarest. Alright. Now our center to center should be 16. Yarp. So that 14 3/4 was right. What did I say, 19? So 17 3, you need 2 pieces at 17 3/4. I guess technically you can make that out of the 3/4, but 1/2 inch is cheaper, and it's going to sit in there a little bit better, being smaller. What's the saying? There's more than one way to skin a cat. I say 17 3/4. Hope so. Of course, I waited for it to warm back up outside to finish gluing stuff, and now it looks like it's gonna rain. But that'll be fine. And now we're just checking the size before we glue it. So it should be 16 by 19. Let's see how that fits. Yeah. Then you're going to drill the holes right here on the bowls of the T, and then you'll drill. I'll get there when I get there, but it's gonna sit right there and swing. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna glue this. I'm not gonna move my camera outside to show me gluing this. You know, with this, what I would recommend doing is I would glue the 2 long pieces in first. Glue there, glue there. So that you have 2 pieces like this. And then I would glue here and here, and kind of, you want to glue this side and this side at the same time, and you're going to push down so it stays square. Then, kind of the same thing with this, glue this end and this end, and same thing, push down on a nice hard flat surface so those are square. And I would glue here, going like that, and that should glue it square for you. So I'm gonna go do that right now. We'll get a little set it and forget it magic. I'll come back, this will be glued. I'll probably be out of order because I'm gonna have to let the glue dry outside, so I'll probably actually make the backboard, but it's whatever. It's whatever. Alright, this is what we're going to use for a backboard. This was a 2x4 piece of chalk / whiteboard I got at Home Depot. It was like $9. I'm not sure how the particle board part's going to hold up, but I mean, it's got like 2 pieces of, it's got laminate, dry erase board and laminate chalkboard on either side, so I'm hoping it'll withstand taking shots. Worst case scenario, you're gonna have to change the material, or just use a different material from the start. You can go with plexi, which is a little bit more expensive. Well, it's a lot more expensive. But you know, you can go online and buy, you know, like red stick-on vinyl and put it on the back of the plexi. But like I said, this was $9 and you get 2 pieces. I had them cut it in half, so it's 2x2 pieces. So you have 2 2x2 pieces. So what we're gonna do first is I'm gonna take this, the bottom towards you, and first you're gonna mark 1 foot on both sides. That's center of the backboard. Mark it all the way going up. There you go. Like I said, this is gonna be, it'll be centered left or right, but it's gonna be off vertically, because we want the bottom of the pipe to kind of line up with the bottom of the board. There we go. Like that. And then there's seams on the T's that you can see, at least with the T's I bought. And you can line those up with the lines you just made. And then, like I said, we put these pieces here like that in case you want a bigger backboard. You can put glue pieces in there, and you know, you'll have a little bit more support when you screw the backboard in. But we're not going to do that, but you can do that as an option. If you don't want to do it, you can just use 90s up there and T's down here, save a couple bucks. I wasn't sure what I was going to do when I was building this, and this came out better than I thought, so I'm going with the 2x2, so I don't need the extenders I was planning on putting in. Alright, I got a mega compass thing. It's basically a compass, so I can make a 15-inch diameter circle. You can always just take a 5-gallon bucket too and literally just go like that. Five-gallon bucket is 12 inches round versus the actual goal being 15. Do whatever you like. So, I mean, what you can do too, like I said, you get 2 of these pieces, so you can cut one at 12 and one at 15, and then, you know, swap them out. Which that's probably what I'm gonna do for Brett. So if he wants to swap it out to a smaller hole, he can. All right. I'll take my compass. I got it marked at 7.5, which will give me a 15-inch diameter. I want it kind of all the way towards the bottom here. Trying to set it so that where the bottom of the goal hole is, so that 10 times as goal hole is just above where the PVC is on the net. I don't want it too high. Alright, I'm going to take this, I'm going to mark the center, the pivot point of the compass. Got that marked. Gotta drill it out with my 1/4-inch drill bit here. I'm going to take my screw. Bucket. There we go, got a nice 15-inch diameter hole. See how it's a little bit off vertically. So, I mean, if you put a bigger backboard on there, I mean, you can do whatever you want. Wherever you can shift this so that it's centered. I made it taller so that high shots have better chance. The thing with mine is really small because I just took our old inserts and just screwed that on there. So if you miss the insert, the ball goes flying past it, which kind of sucks. So, all right. So now I'm gonna take my jigsaw and cut this out. It'll be another set and forget it moment. Alright, for those that aren't that handy, I drilled 5 holes and where I'm gonna cut, and then from the center, I drilled those holes, and now I'm gonna take my jigsaw and just cut out the pieces of pie. Yeah, just make sure when you're cutting, you're using the proper bit, because if you use the wrong bit, you're gonna really mar up the particle board, or whatever you want to call it, blackboard, backboard, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so you just those 5 holes, and now you're just gonna go from here, there, there, and there, and then I cut on the inside of the line. That's just me. So I'll be back when it's done. All right, after you got your net piece all glued together, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna drill holes all along the side. You're gonna make sure you put 1 hole on each side of the top of it, right into the bottom of the 90. That's where it's gonna connect to those T's on the top part and pivot. So then you're gonna take your paracord unravel it all, and then either coil it nicely, or I just fed it into the bucket so it's not in a bird's nest, so when you're feeding it, it goes in easy. And I'm just going to start with the top. And you're just going to feed it through like this. Alright, and then when you're through, just take it, tie a bunch of overhand knots. So you've got a big old stopper knot at the end. And then you're going to pull all the slack out the best you can. Ah. And then I'm just gonna do the same thing on this side. Take your scissors. Just give you enough to do some knots. I'd say at least 2. I'm just going to do the same thing. Go another one now. Recommend cutting the paracord on an angle so it gives you a nice little point. And this, you're just going to leave in and out. so you can get at least 2 double knots on it. Oh no, I may have cut this short. All right. Now, just need to drill a hole on the inside of each of these. 1/4 inch. Oh, depends on what hardware you buy. I bought 1/4 inch stuff, so. Get them safety squints on. And I got bolts with a smooth shaft where they'll be. For left friction. Get in there. And then I should have locking nuts. Get your locking nuts on the inside here. Alright, once you got the net on and secured and everything, we're going to attach that extra hole I drilled. I'm going to use it to attach a piece of cord. So, one, the net doesn't get stuck in between the bars. I cut it a little tight. So, cut it a little bit smaller than whatever measurements I gave you. Ooh, it's hot. So the extra hole I drilled, I might use it. I'm going to feed this through. Tie a knot on it. Alright, now I got the cord tied back there so it can't get stuck in between. If it comes flying in, it won't wedge itself in there now. Alright, now we're going to mark the holes to drill this to mount it. Just tracing the pipe onto the board. Alright, now we got a rough layout. Probably just going to do the four corners and then maybe like right here. So let me go and drill those holes. We'll do it outside. Try not to make a mess in here. Same thing, 1/4 inch holes, got 1/4 inch bolts. where that one's at. I might have to re-drill that one. There we go. $24.25. So I have all my legs cut at 24.25. Yeah, and then you just stack it together. And normally what I do is I'll fill this bucket up with water and just set that in the middle as a counterweight. You could also drill some big holes if you're doing it in the grass. Drill some big holes in the corners and get some like heavy duty tent spikes that like either screw in or like get hammered in really well to hold it down. But yeah, I usually just fill a 5-gallon bucket up with water and that does a good job of counterweighting it. And I'm just gonna double check my length. my tape measure. "9'6" center goal. There you go. If you want to put lights and buzzers on it, let me know. And if I get enough interest of people wanting to know how to do that, I'll make a video on how I build my control boxes and how to hook up the different kind of sensors you use. I mean, you can make it 12 volt with a battery, like a little battery pack that takes AA batteries. Wouldn't be too hard. It's probably what I'm gonna do for this. And then you can also make it so it's interchangeable with a just a DC power supply, as long as it's 12 volts. So.
All right, you take about a 9-foot piece of leftover paracord, tie one to the bottom piece right there where the gold part's connected, and the paracord just runs all the way down. And then this is on the part list. It's just a carabiner that also acts as a ratcheting device with the paracord. So you got downward force pulling down on the goal, just to help stabilize it a little bit better, make sure it doesn't come apart. And then, because the legs are all the same length, order doesn't matter. You can put it together like laying down, then stand it up, or however works best for you. And that's just a bucket, 5-gallon bucket filled with water. That'll stop it from tipping over.